So this is going to be a very special time, and I guess if you read your own papers and your own networks, everybody's very excited about this moment in time. So I'll see you on the plane. I think you're traveling with us, but this is a very special event. They had 500,000 people yesterday and today in Israel, and also the Muslim and Arab countries are all cheering. Everybody's cheering at one time. That's never happened before. Usually if you have one cheering, the other isn't. The other is the opposite. This is the first time everybody is amazed and they're thrilled, and it's an honor to be involved. And we're going to have an amazing time, and it's going to be something that's never happened before.
Well, they've been confirmed, George. Of course, you don't know until you see these people alive, but thank God we expect to see them alive here in the next 24 hours, probably early tomorrow morning, U.S. time, which will be later in the day, of course, in Israel. But look, George, we have to remember this is a remarkable achievement from an administration that really chose a non-conventional path to diplomacy. And I think that's the major takeaway. The President of the United States instructed Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. He said, get a deal done. Talk to the Gulf Arab states. Talk to Israel. Find where there's common ground here. And actually, let's go and find a way to get it done. And because of that, we're on the cusp of true peace in the Middle East, really for the first time in my lifetime. Certainly, these 20 hostages are going to come home to their families, George. I think this is a great moment for our country. Our country should be proud of our diplomats who made this happen. It's really a great moment for the world, too, which is why the president's going to go over there and celebrate with these hostages. But it's a great thing, and I'm very excited about it.
By this time tomorrow, the final hostages should have been released from captivity in Gaza by Hamas. Let's bring in the political analyst Joe Syracuse for his thoughts on this. And then we move to phase 2 of this ceasefire operation and the future rebuild of Gaza, Joe. But might the hostage exchange be the easy part? Moving forward in Gaza is the tough stuff.
Good morning, Pete. Look, not only is it the easy part, it was the only part they could agree on. Everything else is debatable. You know, who's going to run Gaza, what role the Palestinians play, particularly who's going to pick up the bill and the rest of it. You know, the decision to release the hostages reminds me of that Texas poker game where everybody called all in. What Trump and the other negotiators did was they just put all their chips at the front of it and said, okay, I'm all in here. Let's begin with the hostages. They don't really know what's going to happen next because peace plan is just kind of a roadmap. It's designed to hopefully solve a number of problems. I mean, as we're speaking right now, Hamas is controlling traffic in downtown Gaza City. The tunnels are still there. The guns are still there. And of course, there are clauses in that so-called agreement about safe passage for Hamas leaders and amnesty for everybody else who work for Hamas. So, you know, Israelis aren't going to go along with that. But you look, it's a generational problem. There's the place has been destroyed, and it's going to take a generation to get over this. But you know, it's a good start.
Yeah. I mean, look, the apocalyptic scenes, I mean, it's a term that's kind of used flippantly these days because you see it so often. But I mean, it appears to be truly the case in Gaza because We've had a story that's been running this morning, Joe, where there's just nothing left. There's nothing standing. I mean, I don't know how you're going to get all that stuff out and then bring new materials in to rebuild. There's the tunnels underneath. Hamas is not going to want to give up control either. I mean, let's be honest. It's going to be involved in some capacity moving forward, isn't it?
Look, Hamas ain't going anywhere. In fact, in many ways, Hamas is a little bit of a winner. It's going toe-to-toe with Israel, and it's still there at the end of the day. You know,
yeah.
Netanyahu can't make it disappear. And the fact that Donald Trump had to convince his friends in Qatar and others to sit down with Hamas is really tells you what the situation is. If you want a realistic end to this story, you've got to deal with Hamas and the Palestinians are not about to replace them tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But to say all the rest of it is not doubtful, but it's problematic.
Well, I mean,
reminds me of that old line, Pete, in the movie where Bette Davis says, you know, sort of fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night. I mean, from here on in, we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that leads me to my next question, because I spoke to Michael Ware, our US analyst, a little earlier, and he said I stepped on a landmine when I referred to the fact that there's going to be a whole pile of money that goes into the Middle East now as everyone tries to do good and help rebuild Gaza. But usually when it comes to the Middle East and a pile of money, it involves corruption to varying degrees. I mean, how are you going to monitor all of that?
No, you're not. Anytime you have large amounts of money and different kinds of people involved in committees, it's like these ways of, you know, almost all the international organizations associated with the UN, when they give out money, a lot of it is corrupted along the way, so you don't know what's going to happen. But look, I know the American people are not about to write the check. I mean, the Australians are not going to write the check. I mean, who's going to write the check for this? I mean, Gaza, you're right, it's a parking lot. It has to be rebuilt from the bottom up. It's got to feed people. It's got to house people, educate people, and all the rest of it. So you know, it's almost impossible for all that money to pour in there without something draining away. And we know what's going to happen. Of course, bringing in Tony Blair shows you got a sense of humor here. You got to bring in the guy who created the end of the story in Iraq. I love it. You know, one of the co-authors of Weapons of Mass Destruction is going to have all the solutions. He did Good Friday,
though. The Good Friday Agreement. So is he one and one?
No, he's 1-1. Look, I like Tony Blair. You know, he's got a good mind. He's got he had a little too much of an attachment to George W. Bush's analysis about analysis. Look, yeah, I think he's a great fellow, and he's almost an intellectual by Trump administration standards. He may overthink it a little bit, and he may have to trust the Palestinians. But I'm sure the Hamas doesn't really want to see Tony Blair or any of those guys.
Still looking for those WMDs. But anyway, Joe, good to see you. Thank you.